But it's probably people who came in from
Well, yeah,
Brandon.
everyone hits like 2 pages.
And, right, exactly.
So they fill in something else.
Right.
All right, Vic, let's talk a little football. Let's talk a little football outside of the New York spectrum, outside of the Giants and the Jets. But don't you worry if you're watching this. We're going to pull in the relationship between the Giants and the Jets to all these guys.
Yes.
And really, if you see these names up here, NFL coaches that are either axed or will be axed within the coming days.
Who's this?
Todd Haley, Kansas City Chiefs ex-coach. Okay?
Yes.
I wrote a post the other day, hopefully you read it. It was a good one, about the Jets beating Todd Haley out of a job. You know, with their beatdown of the Chiefs. Chiefs who won the AFC West last year, but coming into this season really never had a shot. I mean, Matt Castle, their quarterback, done for the season. Jamal Charles, their head running back, done for the season. About 5 or 6 other starters from last year, who I don't remember the name because they're not that important, done for the season. You know, think about it if we're the Giants. If Eli Manning and Bradshaw were down for the season, along with 5 or 6 other starters, you know, we'd be 5-8 too.
Yeah, and it seemed like Haley had it coming because he's you read articles about him that he's the most unlikable guy in the league.
Right.
And so it seemed as though even though he had a great year last season, this year, if he slipped up, even if it wasn't his fault, he was getting canned.
Yeah, and you know what else is it? If you watch the Jets game, he had something called on him that I haven't seen in years. It was a personal foul. What was it? Unsportsmanlike conduct by a head coach, which I haven't seen in years.
Except for the NBA.
Except for-
It happens every night in the NBA.
Every night in the NBA, but in the NFL, you never see that. But he was, in the NFL, you're allowed 3 yards on the field, and I don't know what he was doing that actually got him charged the 15-yard penalty to hurt his team. But with that, gone.
Gone.
And
Who's that?
moving on, Tony Sparano, the hand-picked by Bill Parcells,
Big Tuna.
head coach of the Miami Dolphins, hand-picked. Now Sparano, he's one of those interesting guys where he helped. You can give a lot of the credit to Parcells if you want, but he brought the team from 1-15 to 11-5 and a playoff berth the next season.
Yeah.
If you want to say that was Parcells, say it was Parcells, fine.
I say it's
But
Chad
Sparano-
Pennington, but okay.
You say it was Chad Pennington?
Yeah.
Well, you know who it's not? It's not Chad Henne, who's the quarterback right now. And that's, I think that's one of the big problems with Sparano's team and why he was kind of let go. The team's just kind of devoid of talent. You know, really just, you know, you need a quarterback, especially in this day and age in the NFL, you need a big-time quarterback. They don't have it. Their best player being Brandon Marshall is a head case. You know, the running backs and all those guys that they have done there, you know, were great or no longer great. You know what? Sparano kind of had it coming to him just due to the situation, not having anything to do with how he performed. I highly doubt that someone like a Bill Parcells could have done any better himself.
Who's this?
Spags, Steve Spagnuolo, head coach of the St. Louis Rams, former defensive coordinator of the New York Giants.
Super Bowl winning.
Super Bowl winning. That Super Bowl victory over the New England Patriots is what got him this head coaching job. Clearly. The only problem is he's having very little success as a head coach in another talent-devoid team like the St. Louis Rams. You know, this isn't the Rams of Isaac Bruce, of Orlando Pace, of Marshall Falk.
Isaac Bruce.
I mean, it's not that
Greatest
team.
show on turf.
Greatest show. It's not that. It's a very poor show on
On
turf.
turf. Question for you. How much of the in-season firings, which you mentioned are kind of rare in the National Football League in-season firings, how much of that is due to the fact that there are some name brand coaches available and possibly these teams want to wet the beaks of those name brand coaches and start thinking about their teams?
You know, if you're an owner, a proud owner, then yes, I think that has a good bit to do with it. Because if you're the owner of the Rams, you know, you want to get the word into Jim Gruden's ear. You know, we have him up here: Jim Gruden, Bill Cowher, Brian Billick.
John Gruden.
John Gruden, same thing.
Jim Gruden is actually his brother that plays for an Arena Football League.
That's who I was thinking.
Quarterback of Arena Football League team. Don't know which name.
John Gruden, doesn't matter.
Yep.
But either way, you want to get the word going to the guy like John Gruden or Jim Gruden. Bring them both in. I mean, you know, you bring Jim Gruden in, he could fit in somewhere in the St. Louis Rams anyway. Here's where I think the problem is. None of these 3 teams, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, or the Rams, are really marquee teams where coaches like this want to go to. You know, they're not the Giants,
Well,
the
they're
Cowboys.
not burning to go to.
Right, exactly. You know, if you get brought on to coach the 49ers, there's a lot of cachet going on there. There's histories of winning. There's a lot of expectations, a great fan base. You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a good example of that. Cowboys, Packers, you know, another team. These the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Rams are not those teams.
Only disagree with you on the Dolphins. I think
Yeah.
the Dolphins do have cachet. I think they're located in a part of the country which people love. They have a history of winning Super Bowls.
Right.
I hear you loud and clear. They're not the Eagles, the Bears, the Giants, the Steelers.
Yeah.
But I do put them a notch ahead of the other two.
I do too. I agree. If they're going to go anywhere, it's probably going to be here. Maybe the Chiefs are they're an old guard team. You know, had some success well in the past. You know, the Hunt family. You know, if you want to look up something online, look up Lamar Hunt trying to corner the market on silver. Very interesting story. He's the owner of the Chiefs, or now he's passed. His son owns them, I believe. But yeah, I guess you put the Dolphins up here. But if you ask me, if I'm a Bill Cowher, I don't necessarily want to go to one of these 3 games. I want to go to a team that's either close to playoff or Super Bowl ready, and you know, I don't have to spend 8 years building it up.
It's good enough. If it's good enough for Dick Vermeil, St. Louis Rams.
Right.
It's good enough for Fitz and
It's good. Dick Vermeil was a kind of an interesting situation when he went to the Rams. I think everyone knows that
Came
he
out of
was,
nowhere.
yeah, exactly.
Come back.
You know, after
Give it a
his
shot, the
issue
old
with
guy.
the Eagles, you know, I don't think anybody expected what they got from him. And if you remember, it's just as fast as Vermeil exploded onto the scene. He condensed and disappeared.
But he went to the Chiefs, turned them around,
Kind of.
quit. He totally did. Turned them around, quit, and then that, you know, they quickly burned out.
Right.
But you know, the Rams, do you remember he gave up coaching to
Mike Martz.
Mike Martz,
Yes.
then came back the very next year to the Chiefs, turned them into a winning program, then left a couple years later. Didn't win a Super Bowl, but he revolutionized
Hey, you know what?
offenses in the
Maybe a
in the
team
early
like Miami
2000s.
should bring in Dick Vermeil. That's true. You know, if you you can really say that Vermeil had a lot to do with the current NFL offenses. Whereas, you know, 4,000-yard passers are now a dime a dozen in the NFL, and that came from, you know, Kurt Warner and Dick Vermeil down in St. Louis a couple of years ago, about 10 years ago. So with that, you're correct.
Tony Romo's a 4,000-yard passer, and he's brutal.
He's hard, right. So I guess with that, a lot of turnover in the NFL. I don't expect anything other than these 3 guys moving. There'll be a couple other coaches on the hot seat, like maybe Tom Coughlin in New York at the end of the season.
There you go, a little preview.
You like a little touch.